The following narrative is a dramatization based on fictional events and is designed to explore themes of loyalty and community spirit. The pet shop fell silent. Every head turned. 8-year-old Laya stood clutching a worn cloth bag with a paltry $4.37 inside. Behind the glass, a broken German shepherd, ribs visible, waited motionless on death row. Laya looked at the price tag, $850. Then, her voice, small and trembling, cracked the silence of the shop with a single impossible question. "Sir, can I pay later for this dog?" 6 months earlier, Laya's world had shattered. Her mother, Sarah, was gone, taken by a sudden truck accident. Her father had already vanished a year before that, without a word. Now, Laya lived in a rattling tin trailer in Evergreen, Montana, with Walter, the grandfather she barely knew. They were surviving on $890 a month, with less than $100 left for food after rent and medication. Laya had learned to be invisible. She stopped smiling, instead writing letters to her mother every night in a notebook hidden in a rusted cookie tin. Walter tried. He skipped his own meals so she could eat, a sacrifice Laya quietly noticed and mirrored, smuggling her untouched school sandwich home for him. Pride was the silent language of their poverty. Then the true crisis arrived. An eviction notice demanding a lump sum of $1,200 within 2 months. That morning, Laya found a flyer for Second Chance's Pet Shop Adoption Day. It showed a blurry photo of a German shepherd. Something about it pulled at her chest, a familiar, magnetic ache. She took her 6 school textbooks, bought new when her mother was still alive, and walked 3 miles to the second-hand shop. The clerk offered a cold, hard number, $4.37. Laya walked into the loud, chaotic shop. She slipped past the happy families and the cheerful puppies, drawn to the last cage in the darkest corner. The sign read, "Max, German Shepherd Mix, 4 years old, $850. Below it, scrawled in pencil, "Last chance, special handling required." Inside, the dog was skeletal, his breathing shallow, a long scar pale against his furred front leg. He lay facing away from the world, untouched food in his bowl. Laya knelt, pressing her small palm against the glass. "I'm scared too," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Every day, every night, I don't know how to stop being scared." The dog didn't move much, but his breathing changed. Travis, the young clerk, appeared. He dismissed the dog instantly. "Don't waste your time with that one, kid," he said with a shrug. "Returned 4 times. Broken. Boss is probably going to have him put down tomorrow." The words "put down" hit Laya like a physical fist. She looked at the dog, Max, and saw her own reflection. The same emptiness, the same retreat from a world that hurt too much. She counted her money again. $4.37. The gap between her $4 and the dog's $8.50 was wider than the Montana sky. She looked out the window and saw her grandfather, Walter, waiting in his old truck, afraid to witness another rejection. She remembered her mother's last words over breakfast that final morning. "Baby, when you love something, you fight for it, even when it seems impossible." She had to try. Laya walked to the counter. Standing in front of her was Victoria, a woman in expensive clothes, checkbook in hand. Victoria's voice cut across the room, announcing her decision. "Time, 300 meters. I'll take that German shepherd in the back. Here's $1,000. Keep the change for your trouble." Laya's heart dropped. The world tilted. Victoria was buying her dog, but Laya had fought too hard. "Wait!" the word burst out. Laya stepped forward, hands clutching her cloth bag. "Sir, can I pay later for this dog?" The shop fell silent. Victoria froze, her pen hovering over the contract. Travis let out a bark of disbelief. "Pay later, kid. This isn't a toy store layaway plan." Laya held her ground. "$4.37, she confessed, opening the bag. Victoria sneered with false sympathy. "Oh, sweetheart, maybe you should consider something more manageable. A goldfish, perhaps." Frank, the owner, silenced Travis. "Why do you want that particular dog, young lady?" Laya bit her lip. "Because nobody else wants him," she whispered. And then the truth, raw and shattering, broke free. "Because I know what it feels like. He looks exactly how I feel inside. Like everything good is gone, and there's no reason to keep trying." We were both left behind. The room was utterly still. Victoria's hand moved away from her checkbook. Walter shuffled in, placing a hand on Laya's shoulder. He pulled out his own worn wallet. "I wish to God I could afford that dog for her. This is $18. It's all we have until next week's check comes." Frank softened but stood firm, explaining the dog's history. Returned 4 times, costs piling up. He turned the final page. "Tomorrow at 5 in the evening, if nobody adopts him, I'm required to contact animal control." Laya felt the floor shift. Max, the dog with the tag Buddy, was on death row. Time: 800 Pennies. Victoria broke the spell. "Look, this is all very touching, but I have an appointment. I'll take him. I need a guard dog for my ranch anyway." She confirmed her plan to keep him chained in the yard. The word chained struck Laya like a physical blow. "No," Laya said. "Please, no. He doesn't need a job. He needs someone who understands." But Victoria was already tearing the check from her book. $1,000, she announced. "I'll return at 5 to collect him. Unless someone can match my offer in the next 45 minutes, he's mine." Laya stood staring at the $1,000 check, the gap between $4 and $1,000 stretching infinite. Buddy, in the dark corner, was watching, his head now raised. He'd heard the tone of resignation, the sound that had preceded every abandonment. Laya walked back to his cage, dropping to her knees on the cold concrete. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you," she whispered, palm pressed against the glass. "I hope wherever you go next, someone loves you the way you deserve." Behind the glass, Buddy finally moved. He stood for the first time in months, muscles shaking. He pressed his nose against the glass where Laya's hand rested. Their eyes locked, 2 creatures drowning in the same grief. A sound emerged from Buddy's chest, a terrible, soft whimper. "I know," Laya whispered. "I know it hurts." The door chimed. An elderly woman, Ellie Miller, entered, intending to buy dog food. She froze, saw the scene, and her eyes widened. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Buddy. I've been looking for him for 6 months." Ellie explained that Buddy belonged to her dearest friend, Grace Morrison. Frank showed the surrender papers. Ellie's voice hardened. "Grace passed away 7 months ago. She took her own life." "Grace fell apart after her best friend died in a car accident," Ellie continued, struggling to speak. "Sarah was her person. When Sarah died, something in Grace just broke." Laya's legs felt weak. "Sarah, my mom's name was Sarah." Ellie turned, really seeing the girl for the first time. She asked her name. Laya Hart. The cane clattered to the floor. "Sweet Lord in heaven, you're Sarah's daughter. Grace became your godmother. You and this dog were constant companions when you were tiny. You used to call him your big brother." Frank read the file. Buddy was surrendered by Grace's son the day after the burial. He called him the dog that watched 2 women die. Buddy had been in Sarah's car the morning of the crash. He tried to follow the ambulance until he was hit by a car. That's how he got the scar. He was grieving. Then, 3 months later, Buddy found Grace in the garage after she took her life. He sat there guarding her until the police came. The intake evaluation confirmed it all. Severely depressed, refuses food. Diagnosis: grief reaction and post-traumatic stress disorder. He had been returned 4 times for howling, anxiety, and being blamed for a bite when he was protecting himself. They returned him because he was sad. The clock showed 4:30, 30 minutes until Victoria returned. Ellie, watching Laya and the dog, produced one last truth. She reached into her pocket and carefully withdrew a yellowed envelope. Grace's suicide note, a letter to whoever adopted Buddy. Ellie read Grace's words. "If you're reading this, it means Buddy found a home. Thank you for seeing past his pain to the love underneath. If there's any justice in this world, he'll find his way back to her, to Laya." Laya looked at Buddy. "She wanted us to find each other," she whispered. Frank, overwhelmed by the truth, moved to the cage. "To hell with protocol," Travis muttered. Frank turned the key. Buddy emerged slowly, shaking. He moved past the watching faces and walked to Laya. The girl knelt, not reaching, just waiting. Buddy sat 2 feet away. Laya extended her hand. "I remember you now," she whispered. "You loved my mom and Aunt Grace." Buddy sniffed her hand and then he broke. He collapsed against her, his body shaking with sobs that dogs weren't supposed to be able to produce. Tears leaked from his eyes, dampening Laya's jacket. 6 months of holding it together poured out. "I've got you," Laya whispered, wrapping her arms around him. "You're not alone anymore. Neither am I." His tail began to wag. The first genuine happiness in half a year. Hardened adults wept openly. A retired Marine, George McKinley, stepped forward, wallet in hand. How much does the girl need? A single mother, a teenager with pizza delivery tips, an elderly couple on a fixed income. The floodgates opened. Money piled up on the counter. 100, 250, 400. Frank counted, his voice breaking. 830, $20 short. The clock showed 4:55. The shop door chimed. Victoria stepped inside, heels clicking, designer purse swinging. She saw the crowd, the money, and the girl clutching her dog. "What's going on here?" "I'm here to collect my dog." "I paid a $1,000 deposit. I signed paperwork. That animal is legally mine," she stated calmly. Frank quietly told her the community had raised 830. "I paid 1,000, Victoria countered, explaining basic math. "Unless you have 1,000 to reimburse me right now, the contract stands. Emotions don't pay bills. Money talks." Buddy's body tensed against Laya. Travis, shuffling papers, suddenly yelled, "Boss, check the fine print, paragraph 7, subsection C." Frank read aloud. "Deposit is fully refundable if the animal displays severe distress or aggression toward the adopter during initial contact." "Then test it," Travis urged. Victoria, annoyed, stepped toward Laya and Buddy. Buddy's reaction was immediate. His hackles rose. A low primal growl rumbled from his chest. He shifted in front of Laya, protective, defensive. "He's aggressive." "You all saw it," Victoria declared. "Toward the adopter," Travis corrected. "That's you. He's showing aggression toward you specifically." Walter spoke, his voice now strong with dignity. "Ma'am, this dog's already been through hell. He's watched 2 people die, been abandoned 4 times. We can't give him a ranch, but we can give him what he actually needs. Someone who understands loss." Ellie stepped forward, presenting Grace's final gift, a faded Polaroid. 2 women, a toddler, and a young, healthy Buddy. On the back, in Grace's handwriting, "My family, Sarah, Grace, Laya, and Buddy, summer 2020. Laya stared at the photo. Memory flooded back. Mom used to sing that song about sunshine, and Buddy would howl like he was singing too. For the first time since the hospital, Laya cried, sobbing openly, clutching the photo and her dog. Buddy licked her tears, whimpering in sympathy. Victoria stared at the photo, her composure shattered. She withdrew her $1,000 check and slowly, deliberately, tore it in half. "I'm walking away," Victoria said, her voice strained. "He's hers. The dog belongs with her. Anyone with eyes can see that." She then counted out $500 in bills and placed them on the counter for his food, veterinary care, whatever else he needs. "I've never had what you have with that dog," she admitted, "and I'm not cruel enough to destroy it for the sake of a contract." She walked out, her last words echoing, "Take care of him, kid. He's been waiting for you." The shop erupted in applause. Frank counted the money. The community's $830 plus Victoria's $500, totaling $1,330. He pushed the excess $480 toward Walter. "You're not accepting charity," Frank said firmly. "You're accepting what this community chose to give." Then, Frank pulled out the final adoption paperwork. He drew a single line through the $850 fee and wrote, "No charge, family reunion." "Some things are bigger than business," he explained. "That dog has been in hell for 6 months. So is this child. I'll be damned if I'm going to profit from that." Laya signed the document. Lilahart. Frank crossed out Max on the cage and wrote, "Buddy, adopted, gone home at last." Ellie fastened Buddy's old tarnished collar around his neck. The tag read, "Buddy, if lost, call Grace Morrison." It was a promise of connection, a relic of the women who loved them both. Buddy licked Ellie's hand gently, a goodbye to his former life. Later at the trailer, Laya spread the new dog bed. Buddy didn't use it. 2 hours later, he climbed onto her bed, curling into a tight ball against her side. "We're safe," Laya whispered into his fur. "Both of us. We're finally safe." For the first time in 6 months, both of them slept through the night. 3 months later, Laya sat at her desk, Buddy's head in her lap. Buddy had gained weight, his coat shone. Laya wrote a new letter. "Dear Aunt Grace, I found him. Thank you for waiting. We're taking care of each other now, just like you asked. Love always, Laya and Buddy." Buddy looked up at Laya, then past her, at something no one else could see. His tail wagged once, twice, 3 times. He laid his head in her lap, content in the knowledge that he was exactly where he belonged. Home. This is a story about showing up when everything hurts. It reminds us that family isn't just blood. It's who shows up when the world falls apart. If this deep dive into the animal kingdom held your attention, remember to subscribe for more chronicles.